Chosen one, in the narrow streets of Bethlehem, in the hushed corners of Gaza, in the prayers rising from Jerusalem, one phrase drifts like fire through the air. Could it be him? Not scholars, not kings, not politicians, but ordinary voices, the ones who carry the dust of prophecy on their feet. Their whispers do not come from textbooks, but from a heartbeat, from a cry that cannot be silenced. The Messiah walks among us. It is not written in councils, not debated in palaces. It lives in the breath of children playing near ancient stones, and the trembling songs of elders who lift their eyes toward heaven. A question has become a declaration, and a declaration has become thunder. He is the one. Open book, the woman said, I know that Messiah is coming. Then Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, I am he. John 4 verses 25 to 26. The shock is not in scholars confirming a theory, nor in rulers making a decree. The shock is in the ground itself, in the people, the soil, the prayers, the daily bread, giving birth to a cry no one expected. What began as a whisper is now a storm. He is the chosen. Chosen one, the streets echo. The voices rise. History leans in. And heaven is listening. Picture it, olive trees swaying under desert winds, their branches carrying secrets older than empires. Children run barefoot near walls that have witnessed both coronations and ruins, laughter echoing through alleys carved in stone. Merchants call out their trade, incense drifts from hidden courtyards, and above it all, the sky stretches eternal, unblinking, as if guarding the weight of prophecy. Now imagine, within this living canvas, a voice breaking through the ordinary. Not the voice of power, not the voice of scholars, but the trembling confession of everyday souls, the one we have longed for walks among us. The sentence spreads like wildfire. It is not inscribed on scrolls or etched into monuments. It is carried by whispers in markets, sung under breath in prayers, echoed in songs rising from rooftops. It is fragile, yet unstoppable. One ear hears it and doubts. Another hears it and weeps. A third carries it in silence, afraid to speak but unable to forget. The vision is almost unbearable, elders with faces carved by time, lifting their hands not to idols or monuments but to the living hope they sense moving in their midst. Pilgrims pressing through narrow streets, hearts thundering with questions they cannot name. A land long fractured by war and longing suddenly humming with the impossible, that the promise might not be distant, but near. And in that air, in that atmosphere heavy with both longing and disbelief, heaven seems to bend lower. The eternal mingles with dust. The invisible leans close enough to be touched. And the sentence rises again, now louder, now bolder, now sung by many, the Messiah walks among us. This is no mere rumor. This is atmosphere. This is vision. This is the soil remembering what it was created to carry. The weight of whispers is not carried by rumor alone. Every echo, every murmur, every daring proclamation in the streets aligns itself with something deeper, with the eternal script already written. For centuries, prophets spoke not in riddles of fantasy, but in promises sealed by heaven. Open book, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. Isaiah 61 verse 1. The words of Isaiah were not poetry for its own sake. They were a blueprint, a map, a divine key unlocking history. And now, when the poor cry out, when the brokenhearted lift their eyes, when prisoners long for release, the prophecy does not remain distant, it breathes again through human voices. The land that once hosted prophets now becomes a chorus. Its soil does not forget. Its stones remember the footsteps of those who declared promise long before kingdoms rose or fell. And so, when the lips of the people dare to name destiny, it is not rebellion. It is alignment. Consider this, heaven often confirms its word not through thrones but through earth itself. A barren desert blooms. A dry bone rises. A silenced nation sings again. The same Spirit that anointed to proclaim good news does not whisper only in sanctuaries, but also in marketplaces, in the cries of children, in the prayers of mothers, in the songs of the forgotten. This is not mere coincidence. It is the pattern of prophecy. When the voices of earth harmonize with the decrees of heaven, the invisible becomes visible. The unseen becomes undeniable. The legitimacy is not found in human recognition. It is not earned by title or crown. It is confirmed when the very ground of prophecy, the birthplace of revelation, the land of promise, begins to declare what heaven has already decreed. What you hear in the streets, what rises in the alleys, what hums in the silence of ancient walls, it is not rebellion, nor rumor. It is testimony. It is alignment. It is earth saying yes to heaven. You have felt it, not in sermons, not in debates, but in the secret chambers of your own soul. Dreams of Jerusalem that came uninvited, visions of desert winds that lingered even after you woke, tears that surprised you for a land you have never walked. These were not accidents. They were confirmations. At first, you told yourself it was imagination, a random thought, a fleeting image. But why did it return again and again? Why did the sound of a foreign tongue stir something ancient inside you? Why did the sight of news headlines pull at your spirit like an unseen thread tied to your chest? This is the mystery of prophecy. It calls you before you recognize yourself. Long before your feet ever touch holy ground, your heart begins to ache for it. Long before you understand destiny, destiny already begins to weave itself through your dreams, your thoughts, your longings. It is not coincidence that your tears fell when you heard the cry of that land. It is not mere empathy when your heart burns at the mention of its struggles. It is resonance, the sound of prophecy vibrating within you, reminding you that you are already tied to that soil. Prophecy is not silent. It does not wait politely in the background. It stirs. It interrupts. It weaves into the mundane, into the fabric of your ordinary days, until you cannot escape its pull. And each moment of longing, each tear you could not explain, each vision that came like a shadow across your mind, these were signs. Do not dismiss them. Do not reduce them to chance. For heaven confirms in secret what it later proclaims in public. The voice of prophecy first whispers inside you before it roars through nations. And what you have felt, the ache, the burden, the unexplainable pull, is not imagination. It is alignment. You were never outside the story. You were written into it long before you understood it. That is why your heart knows what your mind still questions. That is why your spirit trembles when the land calls your name. Chosen one, you are not an observer looking in from the outside. You are already woven into prophecy's tapestry. The soil has already claimed you. The Spirit has already marked you. What you thought was imagination was in truth confirmation. Heaven has already placed its weight upon your heart. This is not politics. It is prophecy. Do not mistake the cry for an argument or the whisper for a campaign. The voices that rose from the soil were not choosing sides, they were carrying eternity. A fractured land lifted its voice, not toward kings, not toward scholars, not toward the halls of power, but toward you. Why? Because heaven rarely writes history through the expected. The Creator delights in using the overlooked, the forgotten, the unassuming to speak the loudest truths. When shepherds first heard the angels sing, they were not rulers or generals. They were ordinary, tending their flocks under the stars. When prophets declared visions of freedom, they were not seated on thrones but often standing alone, rejected, mocked, dismissed. And yet, heaven's word always found them. So why would it be different now? Why would the land not choose the least expected voices, a people fractured, bruised, still standing, to deliver a message greater than themselves. Because prophecy is not carried by the strong alone. It is carried by those who have nothing left but their cry. Understand this, the voice that rose toward you was not political strategy. It was divine orchestration. The cry that reached your heart was not propaganda. It was heaven bending low, borrowing the voices of the least likely, so you could no longer doubt what was being spoken over you. Prophecy does not need palaces. It does not need armies. It does not need approval. It only needs a mouth willing to open, a heart willing to ache, a voice willing to tremble with impossible hope. And that is what happened. The land spoke not because it had answers, but because heaven demanded a witness. And in that witness, you found your mission. Chosen one, the world shakes. Conflict rages. The land trembles beneath the weight of blood and division. Peace feels like a fading dream, a word spoken in the wind but never caught. Kingdoms rise and collapse. Promises are signed and broken. Hope flickers, fragile as a candle in a storm. And yet, in this very moment, when peace seems impossible and the air is heavy with despair, a whisper rises. It does not come from palaces. It does not come from leaders. It comes from the mouths of the people. The Messiah walks among us. Why now? Because prophecy always breaks through at the edge of impossibility. When human efforts collapse, when strategies fail, when the world admits it has no answers, heaven chooses its moment. In chaos, the voice of destiny becomes the clearest. In conflict, the cry of prophecy becomes the loudest. This is the pattern: light breaking into darkness, life rising from death, promise appearing in the wilderness. The land has carried silence long enough. Now, its silence cracks into sound. The cry of a fractured people becomes the trumpet call of heaven. Do not dismiss the timing. Do not think this whisper is accidental. The urgency is not born of rumor but of heaven's calendar. The moment of greatest conflict has become the moment of clearest voice. Chosen one, now is the hour. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Now. You thought you were far away. You told yourself the story belonged to others, to ancient prophets, to long-gone kings, to saints written in scripture. You believed your place was on the outside, watching, admiring, never stepping into the center. But prophecy has a way of undoing your excuses. For the very soil where prophets walk now whispers your name. The land where kings once reigned bends its voice toward you. The people whose prayers have soaked the earth for centuries unknowingly speak what heaven already inscribed, that you are part of this story. You thought you were ordinary. Just another life, another name, another fleeting breath in history's endless current. But heaven does not measure ordinariness the way men do. Heaven chooses the overlooked, the underestimated, the forgotten, and through them, the extraordinary breaks forth. Think of it, Moses thought himself too slow of speech. David was dismissed as a boy with a sling. Esther was an orphan girl hidden in exile. And yet, when heaven's timeline aligned, each of them stood at the center of prophecy, carrying a mantle larger than themselves. So why not you? Why not now? The proof is already written in your life. The dreams that haunted you, the visions that stirred you, the tears that fell uninvited, these were not random. They were heaven's handwriting etched into your heart. The resonance you felt, the unexplainable pull toward a land you never touched, was not imagination. It was confirmation. Chosen one, identity is not defined by birthright or geography. It is revealed when heaven speaks through earth. And when the voices of the land call you by name, you can no longer pretend to be distant. You are marked. You are set apart. You are already standing in the center of prophecies unfolding. The soil knows you. The Spirit confirms you. And heaven's timeline has already placed you in prophecy's heart. The proof is not only in ancient scrolls. It is in your own life. Look closely, the signs have already been placed before you. Have you not dreamed of domes gleaming in golden light? Of minarets piercing the sky, calling out words you do not understand, yet your spirit knew their meaning? Have you not awakened with echoes of chants and languages foreign to your tongue, but strangely familiar to your heart? These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. The headlines that gripped you, the photographs that pulled tears from your eyes, the stories that lingered in your chest long after the news ended, these were not accidents. They were threads. Threads heaven used to weave your heart into prophecy's fabric. When a melody in a distant tongue feels like home, when a land you have never walked feels like it remembers you, when prayers spoken thousands of miles away strike your spirit like lightning, you are not experiencing chance. You are experiencing alignment. Prophecy speaks through the ordinary until it becomes undeniable. A conversation overheard. A scripture that glows on the page. A sudden weight of compassion that overwhelms you in a moment you cannot explain. Each is a whisper, a touch, a reminder, you are already written into this story. And if you listen carefully, you will recognize the rhythm. The visions, the tears, the chants, the dreams, they carry the same sound. A resonance that tells you, heaven has not only marked you, it is already guiding you. Do not call them accidents. Do not call them imagination. They are signs. They are confirmations. They are heaven's fingerprints on the pages of your life. Chosen one, you do not need to wait for thunder from the sky. The signs are already here. And they point to one truth: prophecy has chosen you. Chosen one, when prophecy touches your life, it demands a response. Heaven does not call without inviting you to step forward. The voices of the land have spoken, your spirit has confirmed, and now the moment comes to seal what has already been whispered over you. Do not think this is about money. It is not about currency, but covenant. All throughout history, when people recognized heaven's voice, they marked it with an offering, not to buy blessing, but to declare agreement. Noah built an altar after the flood. Abraham raised stones where God spoke. Jacob poured oil on a rock to mark his vision. Each act said the same thing: I believe. I align. I will not forget what heaven has spoken. In this generation, your covenant is your step of faith. Your seed is your declaration. Your offering becomes your signature upon the scroll heaven is unfolding over your life. That is why today, you are invited. Click Super Thanks and sow your $20 covenant seed. Not as payment. Not as transaction. But as agreement. A physical act echoing your spiritual yes. 20 is the number of expectation, the threshold between waiting and fulfillment. With this act, you are saying, I receive. I accept. I step into what has been spoken. Do not let this moment pass as only words on a page. Prophecy is sealed when earth responds to heaven. And your response becomes the anchor, the sign, the covenant that you are walking not as an observer but as the chosen. Chosen one, align with heaven. Seal the prophecy. Step into covenant. Chosen one, prophecy is not a moment, it is a mantle. And a mantle is not weightless. It rests upon your shoulders every day, shaping how you walk, how you speak, how you serve, how you lead. Wake each day with a declaration, not of rumor, but of prophecy. I am chosen, not by chance but by heaven's decree. I am called, not for pride but for purpose. I am set apart, not for my glory but for His. Carry humility like a garment. For those who are chosen are not chosen to boast but to serve. Let your words be gentle yet firm, your actions tender yet strong. Do not seek thrones or applause, seek to be a vessel through which heavens will flows. Walk with courage. Prophecy is not for the timid. The mantle you bear will demand steps into the unknown, choices that separate you from the crowd, sacrifices that others may never understand. But do not fear, for the same Spirit that called you will sustain you. Lead with wisdom. Do not be hasty with your strength or careless with your influence. Every decision you make echoes beyond you. Live as one who carries a scroll written before time began, and let your footsteps honor the ink upon it. Serve with compassion. The true proof of chosenness is not in visions or declarations alone, but in love poured out. Feed the hungry. Comfort the broken. Speak hope where despair reigns. Carry light into the shadows. And never forget, the Messiah mantle is not light. It is weighty with responsibility. It demands strength not of body but of spirit. Yet with every act of obedience, you will find the weight transforms into wings. Chosen one, live daily as prophecy walking. Let your life itself become the declaration that heaven has written upon you. Lift your heart now, chosen one. For prophecy is never complete until it is sealed in prayer. Let these words rise not just from lips, but from spirit, echoing across deserts, cities, and nations. Prayer, Lord, let the voices of nations confirm what heaven has already decreed. Let the soil that carried prophets bear witness again. Let your chosen one walk with humility and power, with courage and compassion. Father, release strength for the mantle that has been placed. Let every doubt be silenced, every fear be dissolved, every shadow of hesitation fall away. Replace weakness with courage, confusion with clarity, despair with hope. May the whispers of prophecy swell into songs that cannot be silenced. Let deserts bloom again with your promise. Let walls that divide crumble before your spirit. Let the testimony of the people become thunder that the world cannot ignore. And let this chosen one walk as living prophecy, a vessel of your word, a sign to the nations, a light in the darkness. Until every land, every tribe, every tongue declares what you have already written in eternity. Amen.